It takes a village, because for all means for all. Together we'll break down any wall. Linked in love, we won't disarm. We're uniting the grassroots army strong. So press play, feel the spark. This is where the movement starts. It takes a village and we're the proof. Truth in action, raising the roof. It takes a village. It takes a village. We rise together, louder than fear. One voice from fire, crystal clear. From every banner, every street, unity moves on dancing feet. We rise together, we're strong. A million hearts singing one song.
By the way, that song was called When Am I Gonna Lose You by the Local Natives. Amazing band, by the way. And we will go ahead and get started. Kenneth, I don't know if you know, but Stop Moms for Liberty is going to be joining us in a little while.
I think I told somebody else that too, my live, and I was kind of worried about.
So excited to talk to her. All right, folks, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. Welcome to It Takes a Village, where we don't just talk politics. We platform people building power from the ground up. I am your charming and furious host, Political Jess, and let's be clear, I'm not going anywhere. Not today, not tomorrow, not until the grassroots win, and even then, who knows. Speaking of tonight's guest, she hails from the great or not so great state. The jury is still out. We're still struggling here. Of Texas, running for Congress's 12th congressional district, my friend Dr. Kenneth Morgan Aguilera.
Oh, thank you.
All right. So before we get started with the questions from our grassroots army, working title, it was the Village People, but it's got too many, negative connotations with what the Kinkles McGee is doing. I have a question for you. And I know the last time we talked about the camel that broke your back being the election and why that inspired you to run. But I have another question that I want to ask you that I didn't get to ask you last time, and this one is so very important. Many voters, especially young voters, working class and marginalized communities, feel betrayed by candidates who run on bold, progressive platforms but quickly compromise or abandon those values once they're elected. So if you win this seat, and you will win this seat, we're manifesting that shit around here, how do you ensure that your actions match your promises, especially when pressured by party leadership, corporate donors, or political expediency? What is your plan to stay rooted in the moments that brought you here?
Okay, that's going to be a compound answer, so give me a second, Jess. Now,
You got it.
I'm going to say for those that do not know me, if they know me, I'm a man of my word and I'm true to my character and who I am. That doesn't change. I would say in the last 20 years, if they've people that know me know that I haven't changed. I'm used to running organizations and I don't give in to peer pressure and I don't fold, but I'm also very transparent. And because I grew up in the community that I want to run in and work in, and I am a grassroots candidate, meaning I grew up poor. I'm a working class individual. Because I grew up and I know that struggle, it's difficult to deviate from what you know, because this is who I am. Who I am as a candidate is who I am as a person. And because that is who I am, one and the same, I'm not going to deviate to be somebody different. And once I get to office, that's not going to change because I intend to continue to be transparent. You know, my constituents will still have immediate access to me via phone, via platforms. It doesn't matter. It will always be me they're reaching, not a third person or a third party. And I want them to hold me accountable. So I want you to hold me accountable, that ensures that I don't change and ensures that you still have access to me to make sure that I fulfill my promises. And if I don't, you know what? You vote my ass out like you would anybody else.
Yeah, I like that. And I like that you talk about consistently you talk about showing up for your constituency, which is something that your constituents are sorely lacking. the congressman that you're running against is calling any public appearance a town hall. If he goes to a donor, have dinner at a donor's, he's calling that a town hall. Like, it's
He
absolutely
ain't got no
ridiculous.
damn town hall.
They're not. I know that, and you know that. We know that, but he's spinning it to make it seem like he is accessible to his constituents when he is not at all. He's only accessible to people who put money in his pocket. So what do you have to say about that? I would love to know how you respond to that.
Do I gotta be PG-13?
There's a lot. There's a very vague line. It's a very fuzzy line. You can say cuss words on here. I cuss like a sailor. So if you need to drop an F-bomb or two, then please feel free.
What I'm going to say is I live in District 12, and I can tell you he's full of shit. I live in District 12. I am running in the district that I live in. I can assure you that me, like most of the people that live across District 12 will tell you, if he had a town hall and posted and publicly announced a town hall, we will be at it. And that's how you know he has not. His private country club resort in downtown Fort Worth, we can't even get to him. So by no means does that count as a town hall. He's playing on words like Mike Johnson do. And that's why they both need to be out of office.
That's right. You have, since the last time you were here, have fleshed out your healthcare platform. And I would love for you to dive into the specifics on your healthcare platform, because I think that especially right now, it is so very, very, very important to a lot of people, especially those who are staring the face at their premiums skyrocketing in the face of what is happening on Congress on the Hill right now. So can you walk me through how your healthcare plan works? And what do you plan to do to get more people to buy into it, especially people who are in power and can make those decisions?
All right, guys. Well, first and foremost, I'm going to tell you that we pay millions a year, and I'm billions. I'm not, when I say we, I mean we the people pay billions a year in property taxes and payroll taxes, and that with the plan that I've come up with, the universal healthcare plan, which is a 2-tier plan, we've already paid for it. We're already paying for it. And once we take into account the system that I've already created, that's a universal healthcare plan, it doesn't call for tax increases. It will actually reduce healthcare costs, as well as it'll reduce the number of Medicare and Medicaid. And so with all this cost of things skyrocketing because of the uninsured, the underinsured, this universal healthcare plan it'll stifle that, and it'll reduce those controls, and it'll stop costs from increasing. And so with that being said, I developed a plan called Freedom to Heal. And it is a tiered universal healthcare framework or healthcare plan. And in the 2 tiers, there's the first tier, meaning it's completely universal across the board, regardless of who you are. It provides universal basic healthcare. And what I mean by that, I'm going to be very specific. Under tier 1, which is a universal basic care tax-funded plan, it covers primary care, emergency service, mental health services, preventive screenings, and essential prescriptions. Funded through federal income taxes with no out-of-pocket costs at point of service. It is delivered through a public-private hybrid network of clinics, hospitals, and providers. No deductibles, no premiums, just get the care you need when you need it. And again, this is like your HMO healthcare plan. This is already funded in our taxes already. And essentially, this is something that Obama was going to do through his Obama healthcare plan. But in the end, he gave into the peer pressure, I hate to say it, and the politics of it. And he did not make it universal like he intended to do. And I will say that not only if Mexico can do it, if Australia can do it, Canada can do it, guys, so can we. And by far, we are one of the biggest nations, and we bring in the most taxes and the most revenues, that we can afford this without increasing taxes on American people, or on Americans, period, or citizens or people within America, period. I'm gonna put it that way. Because even if you are here legally, you are here as a resident, you got a green card, that allows you to legally participate in this plan because you are paying taxes. You are part of it. You are part of this system. And so it does not exclude you. And part of this healthcare does include Medicaid, Medicare. So it doesn't exclude anybody, but it is a universal plan that provides care for everybody. Now, if you're one of those that wants more freedom, you want to be able to go to certain hospitals, certain care, certain doctors, you have that option. And it is what I call my optional premium plan. Now, option two is funded by user, meaning if you want to go into the PPO tier two plan, either your employer pays for it or you do, but it is not taxpayer funded. And in this plan, it is a PPO plan with broad provider networks. It provides access to private hospitals. It provides access to elective procedures and enhanced amenities. This plan also is paid for. It is paid for by the individual or their employer. It is not subsidized by taxpayers, and it maintains freedom of choice without compromising universal access health care. So what I'm saying there is, if you don't want the universal health care plan, you want more options to, for example, stay within your certain level of care. Like I have a cardiologist, I see for my heart condition. And so I would opt for the universal tier plan 2, PPO, because I like my doctors, I know my doctor, and I like a consistency of care. I like to maintain that same level of care without change, because I personally feel, as someone who works in healthcare, I like to keep the same physicians, the same doctors, the same nurses, the same hospital, because they know me and there's a level of care and a level of respect and trust already established. If you're anything like me, you want to keep that. Well, this plan will allow you to keep that, but at a marginal cost. When I say marginal, because we're already paying taxes. And so a portion of this is already covered. And so if you choose to go to the PPO plan, you may only end up paying maybe $300 or $400 a month, which is equivalent to the subsidy program price you're paying right now. So it's not going to be when you go from $0 to $1,600 a month. No, it would remain a individually funded plan, but it's going to be a capped out cost where it may be $300 or $400 a month, like you're paying right now for your ACA subsidies. So Jess, I hope that answers your question.
I want to know, there was a question in the chat by Mr. R who wants to know, we already have a shortage of doctors, nurses, and healthcare professionals.
Mm-hmm.
How would you address that shortage, and how do you encourage more people to work in that field?
I would say a couple of, for somebody, I work in the field, and a lot of physicians are burning out because of the mandates that the insurance companies are putting on them and the government puts on them to see more with less. Meaning nurses have to sometime in the hospital take care of 5, 6, 7, 8 patients. In a nursing home is a 1 to maybe 50 ratio for a nurse. You cannot provide care, but you can get more healthcare, more provider buy-in when they are allowed to actually decide the care for their constituents or for their patients. When government tells a physician how to care for his patients or her patients, or a nurse how to treat her patients, or he or she cannot provide reasonable, safe care on a safe ratio, they don't buy into your plan. But when they have the freedom to choose and they're allowed to safely care for their patients and provide care within their scope of practice without being pressured to take care of 50 on a 1 to 50 plan where you can't have this unless you do this, my plan will not do that. It will allow the physicians and the patients the ability and the choice to make the decisions with their patients on what's best for them without forcing politics down their throat. I can say that as somebody who works in healthcare, who takes care of patients, I know the choice and the importance of being able to make those decisions with your patients, and not a hospital and not a provider insurance company telling you this is what you must do, or the government saying no abortions, or you can't do this and you can't do that. Those choices should be left to the physician and the patient, not the government or the insurance provider or the insurance carriers. And so that's what makes my plan different. And with that said, for physicians, clinics, and nurses will buy into this because they have a choice and they can provide safe care and not feel pressured to provide care, on a larger level in an unsafe environment.
Yeah. I worked in healthcare for about 17 years, and after the pandemic, we lost about 9 of our colleagues to the pandemic. And
I burned it.
yeah. So the PTSD that healthcare professionals are feeling right now is real. And the thing about it that a lot of people don't understand is that when you are in that sort of a situation and you're cooking in the pot, so to speak, for a better analogy here, there's no time to process what is happening. Okay, when your colleague drops, there's no time to process that. You have to just keep moving on to the next patient. And yeah.
You work in shifts. It's like this, and you know this, Jess. You know, when you come onto a shift, you get report for your patients, and you may start out with, I'm gonna say 4 or 5 patients in the ICU. Okay, and if you with 4 or 5 patients in the ICU, and these patients are all critical, and let's say somebody calls in, now you went from 4 to 5 to maybe 7 or 8 patients, and if one patient crashes in the middle, your whole shift is thrown into chaos. And when you don't have enough people working, and because they burn out, they don't want to come to work, and they drill like, oh God, here we go again today, and I'm going to have 10 patients, and that fear sets in, and the panic sets in, and then you're functioning out of fear, and you can't rationally and chronologically think about what to do and how to do it, and so then care becomes compromised. And that's what happens with many providers, whether you are a nurse or a doctor. You're working under stressful situations because you're under a shift, and you got these production quotas where the medical examiner of the hospital, the chief physician is saying, you got to treat 10 patients, treat them in the street tomorrow. You got 5 patients, you got an hour to see 4 or 5 patients. And you can't provide thorough assessments and head-to-toe assessments. You miss things, and patients, unfortunately, suffer because of this. And so physicians are opting to not buy into insurance plans, because if they buy into United Healthcare or Aetna, it means they got to see 50 patients, and they can only spend 15 minutes with each patient. And that is real. That is real. I can tell you, they send us a little thing out every month from Aetna and United Healthcare saying, Dr. Morgan has only seen 5 patients today. He's spending on average 45 minutes per patient. We're losing this much money. And those are the kind of reports they send you. And so then you got the hospital administrator coming down on you saying you're not seeing enough patients. They're losing money on you. And so it becomes a constant battle where you're having to decide patient care over profit. And so many physicians will opt to leave hospital settings or leave the hospital setting and go into private care or private practice, because they can control and dictate how they care for their patients or their clients. Even if you're a nurse, you get to dictate it when you go into private practice, because you don't have insurance companies and hospital executives telling you, you can't do this, you can't do that. You get to decide if you want insurance, if you don't want insurance. And many physicians now also are saying they don't want insurance policies or insurance programs in their places of private business. They rather set up a fund where you pay them directly each month, or they give you a certain base level of care, and you pay for this, pay as you go. And comes with less hassle, less of a hassle, and less headache, because you don't have the mandates. But then it hurts you on your pockets as a physician or as a nurse, because you don't get the number of patients. Because if you're on the Blue Cross Blue Shield, you get more of their patients, and you're in network, but then you're only getting maybe $500 when you normally would have made $1,500 in a real ER setting or in a real emergency trauma setting type of a situation. So they're losing their pros and cons. But when you have a situation where you can put patient care over profit, everybody wins.
So does your healthcare plan address that specifically?
It does. It addresses it at the bottom as to how it works. And it goes into a lot of details of the rationale as to why my universal plan works and how it reduces costs overall. Because when you have a lot of people show up at hospitals, Jess, that are uninsured, those uninsured costs are passed on to the insured. And so when it passes on to the insured, it passes on to the hospital, and they got to find ways to cut costs. But when you have a universal level of care across the board, that is a standard of care that physicians are on the board, and physicians actually dictate and decide the standard of care without being pressured by hospitals, it makes things different. It provides a better level of care where it's not profit based over patient care. And so it flips the script. And so all of these things are outlined and my plan. And if they go to my TikTok page, I did a whole video that may be about 45 minutes where they can actually get each level line by line, and I can email it to them, or they can actually view my documents, will give them a better idea, which is why I say I left profit and I work in a nonprofit arena now, because we don't have we don't have to deal with that in nonprofit. We raise money. It's about patient care over profit, and we raise funds and we just treat patients first and profits last.
Yeah, I think that's really important, and I think that's something that we're missing right now. Scotty wants to know, why not operate hospitals like credit unions owned by the surrounding area?
You can. Unfortunately, what has happened, because our government has been backed by lobbyists from insurance companies and these mega lobbyists that are billionaires that own. Let me back up. Most hospitals are owned by private companies. They may have a big old, how do I want to say? They may have a front organization in front of the company, like the name, like what is it? Like Highland Hospital or Methodist Memorial or Herman Memorial Hospital. Those are front companies out in the front, but in the back end, they're owned by private individuals that are for profit. And so what's happening is you could run it like a credit union where it's a buy-in process, but because the market has been monopolized and the government and politicians get to make money on the back end from the lobbyists, it hasn't been pushed. So these smaller organizations that are owned by the community are forced out of business because the congressmen and the senators and the president, unfortunately, if they can't make money out of it and they can't turn a profit, they close their ears to it. And this is why we need to change the way healthcare is done. This is why we need to change the way politics are done and put people above politics so that we can actually get proper and adequate healthcare across the board and not built around profits.
Yeah, I think that's really important to do.
I hope I said that clearly enough that they understood, because I can talk.
You can, but that's why we love you. Like, I think that's fantastic. You actually have a plan, and you're articulating these things, which is more than what your opponent is doing. So,
and I want them to know, I have ran hospitals. I have ran skilled nursing facilities. I have ran from one extreme to the other. So I went from the hospitals to the private hospitals to the clinics to nonprofit and for-profit. So I've done it and I've seen it all. And so when I come to the table with the experience, guys, I know what will work because I've done it. I've tried it. I've seen the trial and error. And so I know what the cushion, I know where all the profit is. And so when I come with my ideas, it's based on years of experience and not just me shooting bullshit out at the people in the community. So whereas Craig Goldman don't have that experience, Donald Trump don't have that medical experience, neither does the crackhead Kennedy. They don't have it. You got people running the scene and running hospitals and running places that have no knowledge of healthcare and controlling the CDC and the Department of Health, are saying that Tylenol causes autism or circumcision causes autism. These are people that have no knowledge about healthcare organizations or how to run it or how to determine proper healthcare for somebody, making decisions when these decisions need to be left to the actual healthcare professionals.
Exactly. It's a joke. There's no other there's no other way to spin that. It's a joke.
It's about money. It's money. And I'm sorry, I know I don't mean to cut you off, Jess, but it's about money. And as long as, look this way, if you look at it this way, if you go look at Craig Goldman, look at Ted Cruz. If you go to his FEC website and you put up his campaign, you will see all the hospitals that are donating money to these congressmen and these senators. They're donating this money and they're paying for these senators in Congress to be on their side in these lobbies. This is why people can't get proper health care, because the hospitals and these lobbyists are paying senators and congressmen and legislatures to do what they want them to do. Public record.
Thank you for joining, Lancelot. Do you have a question for our guest?
Yes. I agree with everything that he's stating right now. I just wanted to ask a question. One thing to add, and then I'll ask a quick question, is here in Austin, we're pretty progressive. We have what's called community care, which is subsidized by our city. It's actually ran by our city, and they stated that that our hospital ER has gone down because we have a lot more preventative medicine with individuals that can't afford it. So we subsidize that. We also have public utilities, which is great as well. That's one thing. But my question is, as you know, I know Trump administration is they're just horrible, everything they're looking at. He did mention one thing, and he mentioned about transparency in hospital billing. I know there's something more nefarious under him saying that, though. You know, I know. I mean, him saying that. You know, you always say like, no, there's something else when he says something. That's a great idea. You know, I just am. What are his thoughts on that?
He's full of shit. Now, you and I both know from being in the healthcare field, they're not going to do that. They're not. I believe the transparency should be there, but if it's on a universal healthcare system, it's there. When it's a non-profit and they're not out to make money, the hospital will generally make their records public, their finances public. And the only way to do that is if they're non-profit or they're government ran, then they're required by law to disclose that information to the general public. Trump was just talking outside of his ass, because if he can't make a profit out of it, you know, he's not going to do it.
Right. Oh, by the way, I'm not in healthcare. Actually, I'm former law enforcement, so that's my area. But
okay.
I just had a question about
that. But if you got private, which you do, Austin has a few private clinics that are publicly owned. And if you notice in any of your publicly owned or your publicly owned or your charity hospitals, you'll notice they make their financial information available to the public. You can go and pull it down.
I guess my question is, I think that would be a good policy as far as just like, all hospitals do have a kind of, when I say transparency in billing would be like, hey, you know, because they, you go to one hospital, they don't tell you how much it costs until whatever you get the bill. And then you're fighting with the insurance companies, right?
You know why they don't tell you? I'll tell you why they don't tell you. Because the insurance dictates the price. The insurance company dictates the price. The insurance company tells them, if the procedure costs $1,500, I'm not going to give you $200. The insurance companies are setting the price. And so if they publish that information, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna, Humana gets angry and they cancel the hospital's contracts.
Okay, so that was my question. Right. That was like, I wonder, because it's like you go, there's like, because I would want to see like, okay, this is how much this typical range would cost, or this first. Of course, everything could be different, but okay, so that's what it was.
That's what's happening. And I'll tell you,
I'm sorry.
Baylor Scott and White is a nonprofit hospital. If you go to Baylor Scott and White's website, they release all their information on what the physicians charge. It breaks it down: ER visit, medication costs, what they actually charge you. They show you. But now, where they're fighting right now with Blue Cross Blue Shield is because they're releasing their rates, and Blue Cross Blue Shield don't want that. So they're battling right now to keep their agreement with the Blue Cross Blue Shield, because Baylor Scott and White is one of the few hospitals with transparency to the community.
Right. We also used to have, it was a Brackenridge, which is our public hospital here. And they started the EMS service, which is public service as well. And Dr. Bud Dryden, which is he was actually one of my physicians. But he was, And again, I think Austin is great. It's a great system, like I said, but like I said, I just wish that, that we could do something so that it could be more transparent for other individuals, other places, and private hospitals can do that. And one last thing is that, just, I don't know if you saw in the comments, that I had read that the like physician clinics that used to be owned and ran by physicians, which the priority was for the care of the individuals, is now bought out by these corporations. So your time to visit for each client, I think, is down to like 15 minutes per person, right? And I think they're getting away from actual physicians and getting like I think nurse practitioners is great, they do that and what have you. But again, I think what they're doing now is that they're maximizing the profits and really kind of minimalizing what time they spend with their patients.
And I'm going to tell you why. One of the people just mentioned in the comments about the Section 6001 for the ACA, which is known as the Stork Law. That's where the government went in and decided that physicians self-referrals and physicians couldn't do certain things, that they could limit their number of hospitals they own. They try to call it a conflict of interest. That's part of the problem I got with the Section 6001 Stark Law. Yeah, that
Also,
section
there's an
six.
actual law that prevented them
Yes,
because
sir.
I would want
It's
physicians to run because they are the ones that understand
ding,
about
ding, ding,
healthcare.
ding, ding. And somebody put it in the comment section at the bottom, but that's the section 6001 of the Affordable Care Act, which restricts the growth of physicians-owned hospitals, banning self-referrals. That's so that the insurance companies can do it. And that's why you're having that problem now. And that's why physicians are not in as much individual practice as they used to be. So now they go from hospital to hospital working because the legislatures, like I was just saying earlier, put laws in place, and it's called the Stark Law, that prevents physicians from owning the hospitals or owning multiple hospitals to create that kind of care. So I think it's a joke. But
It
yet
is.
insurance
Thank you
companies
so
can do
much.
it.
Yeah, I appreciate.
Thank you, Lancelot. Was that the all you wanted to talk about? Like that's
That
a little
was
thing.
it. That was just my again. I don't know too much whatsoever about medical insurance and all that. That's not my. All I know is that Cash Patel is a joke. He's this whole DOJ is a joke, and law enforcement that work felony apprehension, and so one of the things is I can just on that I don't even go rant and all that. But again, this is just one area, as you know, every area of this administration is going to be horrible. But I appreciate it. Thank you guys. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
He asked a good question, and so did somebody down in the bottom down there asked about that. That was really great.
Yeah, Mr. R is on it. Super glad that he's decided to join us today. So I want to ask you another question about mental health care, especially for veterans, youth, and formerly incarcerated individuals. What is your plan to address that?
I'm gonna say I take the mental health issue very personal because just I think I've been told you before. My wife, ex-wife, well, she's deceased now. She committed suicide. She unalived herself a few years ago, and she had schizophrenia and bipolar psychosis, and she battled it for years. And she jumped off a bridge into the lake and unalived herself. So for me,
Sorry about
I
that.
take mental health and mental illness very personal, very serious because my son also had schizophrenia. He got it from his mom. And so it's real and I deal with it daily because of my children and my son who has it. And so I take that very serious, which is why I'm a big advocate for fighting for health care and making sure that everybody has access to adequate health care, which includes mental health services. And I mean real mental health services, not lock somebody away in a psych hospital, but making sure they get what they need. And the only way to do that is to pass proper legislation with adequate universal health care or adequate access for inmates, prisoners, veterans, because right now, as you're aware, I'm a veteran, and the veterans are actually the number of veterans unaliving themselves right now has gone up astronomically in the last few years because veterans are not getting the proper care they need when they come back from traumatic combat zones and the missions they've had to do, just like prisoners who are incarcerated and get out, the care that they were getting when they get out on the street, they're just thrown out on the streets without insurance, without care, without follow-up care, and they're unaliving themselves. So I intend to make sure that as part of my universal healthcare plan, these things are addressed in full, which is why I want a comprehensive universal healthcare plan that includes mental health services.
Thanks for popping back up, Lancelot. You have
Uh,
another question
I'm
about
sorry.
this,
I
right?
when you get down, you brought up that about mental health care. I'm so
Mm-hmm.
sorry, and I'm so sorry to hear that what happened to you.
It's okay.
Yeah, and but yes, actually, that's one of the things in law enforcement I was really surprised at because they don't show you how many people unalive themselves. No one really knows. It's a very high number, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know that until I went and actually saw that myself. And because you go to these residences, you see how many people do this, and of course the news is going to cover it, so nobody knows the crisis that's going on with that, right?
And it's
And
bad. It's bad.
and
Like
and and I guess that's talking about the healthcare, right? Again, I know like the Trump has cut the CDC. They had the Safe Act for actually mental health in public schools for all these pews that are happening, and a lot. And again, and I've seen that. And so one of the things that's one of the areas that I think needs to be addressed really substantially. And one last thing, again, you're talking about the public option is that, or public care is that, I know people are like, oh, this and that. My mother has Medicare, but she goes to the same physician that I go, and I pay almost $900, 800 and something dollars for my gold. I'm in Texas, of course, it's horrible.
Yeah.
So so I pay $867 for the gold plan in United Healthcare, but we go to the same physician, right? And I think Medicare has like an approval rating up in the high 80s compared to like private insurance.
They do, but it's government. It's the government.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why. You got to remember those ratings are not the same for the government as it is for regular public individuals. It's not the same.
And I think one last thing is that I think when they ran the private Medicare, that the administrative costs I think they cut like 36% compared to like 5% of when the government runs it. So that's how much is taken away from actual health care of the individuals. Am I correct?
And it's a thing called kickbacks. Now, I'm gonna say this, and they're gonna hate me for saying this, but have you heard about physicians getting kickbacks if they prescribe certain medications, they do certain things and give certain diagnoses, or they don't treat certain things? That is real. And in order for them to get those quotas and get those budgets and get that money from the insurance carriers, they have to stay within that little box. That's why. Yeah.
Right, and I think they caught them for rating. I think how much they were. Yeah, I guess the care they're supposed to get and what they were. Yeah, I think they caught them on that as well. The investigation. So, but like I said, my thing is like, I know this is the first thing they go. Oh, the government doesn't run anything great, and this. And I said, actually, when you call for a fire department, who gets there? The government, right?
Yep.
When you call for somebody's breaking in, who do you call? The police department.
And they need to provide better care. But I also will say to you, in the sense you are in law enforcement, I think we need a better system that if we determine that a patient or a person in the public is in harm's way, at risk of harming themselves, the patient at a certain point has the right to say, oh, no, I don't want it. And you have to kind of let them go. And I think that's a problem for me because somebody just needs help sometime, and they may not have the mental capacity at that time to make that decision. And because they have the right to say no, things escalate when it could have been controlled if they would allow law enforcement or the physicians to do a 72-hour hold immediately. Some hospitals will, some of them won't, but the state is now saying patients' right to refuse, to control their own healthcare, make their own choices. But in some cases, those choices are detrimental to the community and society as a whole.
Right, we can hold EDPs if we deem their danger, right? But I think even with that said I that's why I kind of like Mondani in these areas is that where basically you have, because we have what's called victim services, right? They're trained for something that happens, and they're trained. And again, I have no problem with if you get there, you understand the area is secure. I'm actually not in law enforcement anymore, but you'd get there and hey, it's secured. Yeah, have individuals that are trained. That are trained in these areas, because again, it can take time off of that patrol officer to go back to doing what they need to do, right? Yep. So I think you need to have more mental health in there. And like I said, and I think a lot of people were given hate about Mondani about that, but no, he didn't want to cut any officers. He just wanted to actually add additional support staff so that they can actually do their job more efficiently.
I think he's going to do really well in New York. I really do. I was so grateful to see some fresh blood in New York. I'm behind him 120%. I think he's going to do great.
Well, I like him.
People in office like Trump, and we know what they have a history of doing. We can surely give Mondani the opportunity to see what he can do.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. And his transition team is Lena Khan, who I love. I think she needs to run herself. I mean, she was actually breaking up some of the medical corporations and working on that and making sure same thing with the hospital. I think she's great. She's amazing.
It's a monopoly, man. It's a monopoly, and it's the rich staying rich. And unfortunately, the average everyday community people don't understand what's going on behind the scene in the hospitals, but they've never ran them. They don't know the background scenes and what happens behind the scene. And it's horrible. It's horrible, and it is strictly for profit. I can't tell you how many times I've had to make decisions for patients, because they didn't have the proper insurance and they need a certain medication would have saved their life. But because they didn't have the proper insurance, I had to say, I'm sorry, I can't help you.
Right, and I know like when you go to some because like for instance, say if something this is why you have to be more universal because say if there's a collision, you have trauma levels of 1, 2, 3, right? And
Yes,
then so
correct.
we have to figure out like as soon as well not us, I mean I
No,
don't
but
not
you're right.
that, but
It's levels.
yeah,
Trauma one, two,
the
three. Yeah.
respondent the respondent EMS will decide okay they're going to go to the area that's going to whatever that's rated for, right? And again, so they're regardless they're going to take you to that even though you have insurance for this other hospital you're unconscious. You're not going to know. You're going to be taken there, and that's why I think that it needs to be something where it's universal, where that if you have insurance, it's going to be able to go because you might even need to go to that same hospital. Okay, you're in there, but then the physician or anesthesiologist is not in network. Then you're stuck for that bill, right?
And that
And it's just
anesthesiologist could be in a different network than the hospital is in, and so that changes the level of care. Just because you go to Baylor Scott and White and the hospital is in the network doesn't mean that physician or the anesthesiologist or the gastrologist or the cardiologist is in network. It's a completely different billing system, but once you get a universal healthcare plan in place, it stops all the monopoly and it makes everything on a level playing field where two patients in the same hospital don't get two different levels of care. It's the same.
exactly. That's what I was saying. Is that at least, and this is why I get in people. I said, look, guys, even if you quote the government's, I don't think the government's going to run it. That's not what they want. They just want to have it so that people can pick. They can go to one place and know that it's not going to be one's going to be totally different than the other place that they go to, right? And again, something where they can just pretty much say, hey, this is it, and this is what they're going to pay for there. And if they have either public option or they're going to have their own private insurance,
Gotta take
they should just be able to go to that place and know it's not going to be this mumbo jumbo stuff that no one can understand.
Got to take the politics out of it. You got to take the politics out of it. Until you can get politics out of healthcare, healthcare is not going to get better. Until you can take the profit over patient care out of the hospitals and out of healthcare, it's not going to improve. So if you can fix the system with a universal healthcare and control that, things get better. Care improves.
Well, I think they're trying to bring in more AI now for analytics and kind of decide on a lot of things. From my understanding, am I
That's going to
correct?
be a nightmare. I think AI can be great in the correct place, but I don't want AI determining for me if I'm unconscious to do something or not do something. Because AI can think independently and make decisions that an experienced physician may be able to make on the spot. Whereas a patient could present with certain symptoms, but it be something else. And only an experienced physician with experience may catch that, where an AI only knows what you've programmed it to know.
Right. It should be only a tool, but not the one actually making those
There
actual
you go.
decisions.
And we're
And
headed
and
down.
it's like
Yep, we're
it's
headed
like
down
law
the line.
enforcement, right?
We headed
It's like
down.
law enforcement.
Yeah,
I'm
we headed
sorry.
down the path where they want AI to control costs. They want to put AI over everything and put AI first. AI cannot think independently. It does not have that ability to rationalize as you or I would.
Right, and like they were trying to do AI now with drones and law enforcement and try to make that cost. Like, look, you cannot do that. It's just a tool only. It cannot make those final decisions. Those need to be officers and doing that just like you're doing it. I think they were looking at AIs for health insurance as well. They were trying to they had a whole thing thinking that about all that stuff. That's
We're
just
doing it now,
all I
Beto.
had
They're
read.
they're actually talking about replacing teachers with AI. And that brings us to our next guest. Lancelot, thank you so much for coming up and joining the panel to discuss these issues with us. I appreciate you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
I'm going to bring up our next guest, though, who I'm fangirling a little bit. I'm going to be honest. I'm fangirling a little. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is about time for Activist Alley here. And Activist Alley is, Kenneth, please stick around because this is going to be an important
Yes, ma'am. I'm here.
conversation for you too. So, Activist Alley is a part of the show where we platform grassroots efforts who are working to make change for all of us. And I was so stoked to have this next person actually talk to me and accept my invitation on our postage stamp of a platform. Ladies and gentlemen, an educational professor for 25 plus years with teaching experience in several states, a bachelor's and a master's degree in education. Most of her career was spent teaching kindergarten, various educational positions held in the state of Florida, including reading instructor and administrative duties. She developed nonprofits to address both teen suicide and social justice. She's a national education presenter on co-teaching, inclusive education, and our recent anti-extremist fight. Founder of Stop Moms for Liberty movement in June of 2022, building over 25,000 members in 45 states. Massachusetts native currently, living in Brevard. Did I say that right? Florida? Brevard County, Florida. Strong advocate for children and equitable, inclusive education, ladies and gentlemen. Liz, pronounce your last name for me.
It's like vegetarian. Micatarian. Just like
Micatarian, that's
vegetarian.
what I thought it was, but I didn't want to butcher it in front of all these nice people. Thank you so much for joining us. Can I just tell you that you're kind
You're
of
cracking me up, fangirling. Oh my gosh.
man, I'm so excited to talk to you. I'm so excited to talk to you because the attack on our education is like such a huge deal to me. First of all, there are stickers we made a sticker for you in our comment section. So all of you people in the comment section should be blasting with stickers right now for Stop Moms for Liberty. Woo! This is such an important conversation because if we can't get the education of our future in hand, we don't have a future, right? If our kids are going to be blasted with fundamentalist ideas and the 10 Commandments in the classroom and having to memorize Bible verses in public school, that is not going to bode well on top of them closing universities and, changing all of the rules so people can't get a fair education. So I know it's a lot, but I wanted to know from you, the first thing I wanted to know is what inspired you. I talk about the straw that breaks the camel's back, right? And as an educator, you're somebody who's been in public service your whole life. But we're not being hit with straws. We're being hit with the whole damn camel all of the time in the face, repeatedly. It's very uncomfortable. So what was the camel that broke your back that decided to make you start this organization? And what inspiration can you share with people so that they will actually get up off the couch and get involved?
Well, I'm located in, as you said, Brevard County, Florida, which is where the group Moms for Liberty also started. I know them personally. And it was in reaction to one of their founders being defeated by a Democrat in a very, very Republican area. And we all used to think that school boards were supposed to be nonpartisan, but all of a sudden it started becoming this partisan thing. So the founder, Tina Descovich, was really publicly humiliated. She was defeated not by a slim margin either. It was like 10 points or something. So it was a substantial victory. So in response to that, she got together a group of folks that must have had like minds, and they would go to our school board meetings, and they would pretty much harass the newly seated school board member who had defeated her. So then they started unrolling that we saw their T-shirts with the name on it, and then I realized they had a Facebook page. So I tried to go on to their Facebook page. I tried to join them to have some conversations. And I tried to explain to them, you're being told things that are happening in schools that are not happening in schools. You're being misled. You're being prompted to be afraid of the public school system. And you have to question that. And instead of actually starting to have a conversation with me, the followers in that group, right in my own county, decided that I was a pedophile supporter, that I must have groomed those kids all the years that I was a kindergarten teacher. So at first, I had my feelings hurt, of course. And then I started thinking, wait a minute, is this going to be their approach? Because during this time, then they started getting these appearances on the Steve Bannon show. And I'm like, wow, they're really growing. Is this what they're going to do? They're going to go after teachers? Well, as I reached out across the state of Florida, I found out that's exactly what they were doing. They had an attack mode from the very beginning, and there was no effort on their part whatsoever to work with the schools. It was always against. And as you saw, it grew into book banning. It grew into trying to limit rights for LGBTQ plus students. And there was just a lot going on. And so across Florida, we started Stop Moms for Liberty. And North Carolina reached out to me and said, hey, we've got Moms for Liberty brewing their little their pot of attack up here too. Have you thought about branching out? And I said, well, no, actually. I thought I was going to be retired and reading all the books stacked up on my kitchen table that I hadn't gotten to. And I said, but hey, let's give it a go. And from there, it spread like wildfire across the country because people were seeing these same things happening in their school districts and they did not like it. And they thought, we have got to stop them. And so that's where we came from. It was a personal attack on me at the beginning. And then I realized that this is something that we needed to pay attention to. This was not simply moms at the microphone expressing concerns about public schools. So the foundation of Moms for Liberty, Tina Deskovich in Brevard, and then Tiffany Justice, who now works for the Heritage Foundation, and Bridget Ziegler over in Sarasota, were the three original founders of Moms for Liberty. Bridget Ziegler's husband at the time was in charge of the Republican Party in the state of Florida. So he is actually quoted publicly as saying, great, they're going to be the boots on the ground soldiers to get all of these people to join the Republican Party. So it did not have any grassroots foundation, which is what they like to say about them. They bring in millions of dollars a year. They've got $2-3 million just sequestered away for their use. They are supported by multiple agencies, but more so from the Heritage Group, which is kind of a think tank. And they have a lot of power players and money involved in the Heritage Group. Heritage Group was behind Project 2025. And so as we see Project 2025 unfold under this Trump administration, part of that is really the restructuring of schools. And I haven't gone public yet, but apparently Tiffany, who is no longer supposedly part of Moms for Liberty, she's now part of the Heritage Foundation. I believe that she has stated publicly that her goal is to make sure that there are no more public schools in America. So that will be exposed here shortly, other than, what I'm exposing right here now.
Did right now. It takes a village is where the news happens.
There you go.
Winter wants to know how we can identify them in our school boards.
Okay. So it was really easy before. They had a huge amount of success as they were building up their organization. And in 22, they actually endorsed a whole lot of candidates. So it was really easy to find them, but people didn't know that they weren't going to be the best board members in the world. So a lot of them took seats in 22. I believe it's close to 300 school board seats across the country. As we started unfolding our work and other groups that are like us started, really sharing this information about, they're trying to limit our schools. They're not trying to improve anything. And they're trying to ostracize certain groups of people. And that's basically what they keep pushing out there by the positions that they take on things. They're against DEI. They're against supposed CRT that we've never had in our schools, but they like to use that as a marching term. They're against everything that's LGBTQ plus in the schools. And they basically want to have their needs and desires all met within a school. And that just doesn't fly it doesn't fly when you're talking about public education. So fast forward a little bit to 23, they still had quite a few victories, not as many. And then they went into 24 and they stopped doing all of these public endorsements. So again, it was harder to find them. And they just now had, I'm not sure of all the logistics on this. We're still trying to hash out the details. But supposedly they endorsed at the beginning 31 seats and they didn't take any of those seats. And they're saying, we won 17 seats. So we're digging into, okay, so what exactly were those seats? Were they uncontested seats? Were they seats in solid red areas? So we're digging into that. So basically what people need to look for now is anybody that's talking about parents' rights as their platform. It sounds great at face value, But I'm here to tell you, I've been doing this work now almost 4 years. They have not gotten parents any right that they didn't already have. Parents have always had the right to review anything that's in your public school. You can look at the curriculum, you can look at the books in the library. So, they have all this false information that, oh, we're parents' rights and we're leading the charge. Really? They even have passed legislation that sounds great, like, oh, parents will be the go-to decider for their child. They always have been in a public setting, but they just can't influence what happens for other people's children. And that's what they focus on. They think that it should be their way or the highway, and they are not the majority. They are in a minority, and they just can't dictate what happens in a public school setting. So we look for things now that are pushing this parents' rights platform, saying we need to get our schools back to the basics. The schools have never left the basics. And yet that's been the false claim that they've made, that, oh, they don't teach anymore. They just, teach your kids how to be gay in kindergarten. It's like, really? Really? So anybody that has those kinds of things, that talks about we need to put America first, anyone that has any kind of big endorsements, and I hate to say it, by the Republican Party, because I used to be one, but by the Republican Party, by the Trump administration, any of those things that unfold in this election coming in 2026 are the red flags that you should look for, because it's not normal for people to talk about parents' rights when all of the rights that they say that they're getting for them, they already had. You can always opt your child out. We've always been able to do that. If I had something come home in my son's backpack and I didn't like it, guess what? I didn't go to social media and blast the teacher. I would have a conversation, and maybe I would opt my son out of something, because that's the individual approach that you can take, but they cannot make decisions for all of us. And that's what they've been aiming to do. And it's just not going to fly. So we need to have candidates that will absolutely state that they are going to be pro-public education. If you have candidates that are running whose kids are never at a public school, that's not a great sign. I'm not saying that's the real, biggest flag, but if you have people that don't believe in their public school system enough to have their own children go to it, that's not a good sign for someone that you're actually voting to put into office to be an advocate for those kids. And this is nothing against private school. I don't have any problem with it. But I want to have people that are invested in those public schools sitting in those seats making decisions for those public schools. So, there's just a few little red flags that you look for. What we're going to be rolling out nationally is prompting, because we're in 45, I think, states at this point where we have Stop Moms for Liberty activity. And we're going to be pushing for slates of candidates. So if you have 2 school board seats open, we're going to prompt them to put the 2 candidates together that will, make this commitment that they're going to be pro public education candidates. And then people will know, okay, these are the folks that we really need to focus on. They had a pledge that they had their candidates do that was all about, I will uphold parents' rights. Not only was that empty, but what they actually meant by that is we will uphold certain people's rights. And that's not okay in any public setting.
The whole parental rights thing kind of grades on me into a fine powder, because in Texas especially, and Kenneth can probably attest to this, in Texas we just had a huge election down here where they added 17 constitutional amendments, and one of them talked about parental rights. And the way that they wrote all of these amendments, even the comically evil ones passed because of the way that they were written. And one of them was specific to parents' rights. And it makes it so much harder for kids, especially LGBTQ youth, to get health care without the parents being involved. And I mean, yikes. It's just, it's crazy to me what parental rights means is that you don't have a choice. That somebody else can dictate what is best for your child. That's what that means. And I hate
And they
that so
believe that
much.
schools are trying to dictate that. They
Yeah.
believe that, and still, they believe that schools are trying to indoctrinate kids. But what I have explained over and over and over again is that schools as an entity did not invent the LGBTQ plus community. We did not invent any of our communities of color. These are the people that come through our doors, and we are obligated to make sure that we have fully included them, fully have representation of anybody that comes through our door. So I always used to use the kind of analogy of at kindergarten level when we have circle time and we'd circle up with, oh, what'd you do this weekend? If Johnny says, oh, I went to the zoo with my two moms, and Susie says, oh, that's so gross, why would you do that? You can't have two moms. As a public school educator, I need to send the message that there are all different kind of families, and that's okay. And anybody that doesn't have such an objection to that, I'm sorry, they don't belong in the public school setting then, because they do not believe in the common good. They only believe in what they want to have happen. And that's a dangerous slope. And so, when you get rid of the public school system, what does that leave us with? There is no sense of having an even playing field at all if we move into the private sector, which is what Moms for Liberty and the Heritage Foundation, other groups, the ALEC is another national push, they all want to privatize schooling because they've seen there's millions and billions of dollars involved in educating students. This is, I don't want to belabor the point, but this goes way back about 30 some odd years ago. Betsy DeVos, I lived in Michigan at the time that Betsy DeVos was up there. And that was her whole big push. Public schools are bad. Here's some public charter schools. Let's do this, or private charter schools, and let's move all the kids over there because it's going to be so much better. Well, they left the kids in the dust, and then she went away. So I thought, phew, that failed experiment is out of our way now. And then in the first Trump administration, she was made the Secretary of Education. So I knew that we were on a long road because I knew that privatization push was still there. So we're talking the multimillionaires and billionaires that run some of these big companies, big publishing companies, educational software companies. They've seen where the money is. And if they can move it into a private setting instead of the public setting, which does have to have public accountability, then they've got it made. They've, taken over an industry that they can make a fortune on.
Well, it's like
on the backs of our kids.
Yeah, Kenneth, can you talk a little bit about what Greg Abbott is doing here in Texas with the school voucher program?
Mm-hmm.
I muted my but over talk her when she was. Well, that's loaded. Greg Abbott signed into legislation a couple months ago, converting a lot of private school funds to public school vouchers, to take to public school funds into private school vouchers. In the last 2-3 weeks, they've now come in and they've taken over the Fort Worth ISD, and he's now assigned it to the, of course, Department of Education. And this guy announced somebody last week, which is again one of those for-profit entities that you were just speaking about that has now taken over the Fort Worth ISD. And then one of the same ones that took over in Houston. So it's the same plate. He's just doing it here in Houston now. Everything she said has been on point, Jess. There's nothing I can say differently because she's nailed it. And this is exactly what they're doing to our kids in the Fort Worth ISD. And until we get Abbott out of office, we can't reverse what he's done until we get rid of him. Because unfortunately, what he's done is illegal. You legally are not supposed to be able to take the fund from public schools that we pay as taxpayers from homeowners, because we allocate those funds through our property taxes to certain school districts. And when you take those funds and reappropriate those funds to a private school voucher, you are going against the reasons that we actually were doing that and what the tax codes say. But they also slipped that in those in the 17 props that we just passed, that people didn't realize what they were doing. And I mentioned it in my lives, but again, throughout Texas. It still passed, and they gave him some rights to make those adjustments. And unfortunately, we can't repeal those until we change people that we got in office in Washington.
And that's the national agenda, is to allow parents to take that money. And I'm here to tell you, because we've been doing it for a while in Florida. We're kind of the testing ground of everything that is possibly bad. And
What's with that?
they did fraud the system so much. Parents getting Disney World tickets, parents buying, big screen TVs on public money under this guise of being homeschooled. Because we went as far as, because you pay for education, but on a per pupil amount. Each state has a set amount. And so that amount is what was given to parents with no accountability. And even if
the only difference here is Abbott has mandated those funds go to a particular interest that he's appointed. And so the schools, for the private vouchers, there are certain schools that Abbott allowing you to use those funds at, and those are the schools those are the organizations that donate to his campaign. So if you go back to Greg Abbott's FEC website, Jess, and you look at where he's getting his money from, those same schools are for public school entities that are running our public schools now that are private, are also big donors for Greg Abbott.
And
oh yeah,
my
it's
jaw
all
stayed
connected.
firmly in
I
place.
would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if Donaldson, who is running for the governor in Florida, his wife is head over heels into the private school and the voucher program, and she runs charter schools. I would not be surprised if she's involved in Texas as
But
well.
like you just said, that's part of Project 2025. If they go back and read Project 2025, that was part of Donald Trump's plan to go in and debunk the Department of Education in Washington to bring it back to the states so that the governors could do just what was being done, and the federal government would have no say-so in it. But the good thing about it is Trump didn't have the ability to reverse course without congressional approval to do that. And to this day, he still doesn't have congressional approval to reverse course and go backwards. It's just a executive order, which ain't what the paper is written on, but the people are not standing up to him.
Well, however, and you're right, he cannot dismantle totally the Department of Education at the federal level. However, he is empowered to remove positions, which is what he has done. He cleared out the special education department first, which is one of the biggest roles of the Department of Education. And he's pulling some of the, I'll call them work tasks from the DOE and pushing it into other organizations that are, part of the system in Washington. So yes, he can't fully get rid of the Department of Education, even though he wants to, but they're not putting too many stops in his way. It's just like he can't really declare a war,
But
and
he's
yet
doing it unofficially. Yep.
he sure as hell is doing it unofficially. Absolutely.
This is why I say we until we get a control in Washington where we can hold people accountable and get some accountability in Washington, we can't stop what's happening on a local level because Trump is pushing his agenda out to the states. And if the governors are on board, which most of them are, that are red states, he's allowing them to do what they want to do. They grease his pocket, he greases their pockets, and shit goes from bad to worse. And so, unfortunately, until we can change how we are doing things and we take control back in Washington, and it doesn't matter whether you're Republican or Democrat, it's about having people that's going to stand up to this government and say, no, this is wrong. This is what the Constitution says. This is what you're supposed to do with checks and balances. It's not going to change.
Well, and I think that it's important to note, too, that there's a reason why all of this change started happening at the level of school boards.
Yep.
Moms for Liberty were the soldiers. They went out there. They got school board members elected. That is because school board positions are the lowest hanging fruit. They are the least involved elections anywhere, at least they used to be. And so they were able to easily sweep in 2022 and take over a whole lot of places. My own school board was flipped, and they've been a nightmare ever since. And now they're kind of seeing, okay, so we kind of got our foot into this one. Now they are branching out, and they're going into putting these extremist type of candidates into your city positions, your county positions. supervisor of elections positions, anything that they can see as like moving up in the amount of control, it all started at the school boards. And I won't say we let them, it's just that we weren't loud enough yet, but we have been loud, at least when it comes to education. And I do believe that we're in the majority across the United States that now think twice about Moms for Liberty, because it's just not what it's presented as. And I have hope that if we can, continue forward and pushing, we just saw those elections. Those results were amazing.
It was eye opening, and it showed you what power of the people can do. But I don't want people to feel defeated because of what just happened last night.
Right. That's discouraging. And would I have done it that way? No. But I also don't think that should stop this role that we're on. Because I'm pretty old, so I can say honestly that there has never been anything that has brought 7 or 8 million people into the streets together.
That part.
Even the Vietnam War guys did not bring that many people. So that one day, the 18th, I think that was the last day, right? Mm-hmm. That had more people in protest to what's going on in the United States than any other time in history. And that's something that gives me hope. It's not going to be easy. We just have to keep plugging.
November 4th was a turning point for America. And I think if nothing else ever has happened before, the American people showed Washington, you don't have the control we do. And despite everything that they have done, New York's an example. The governor in Virginia is an example. The recent changes made because people came together and voted wasn't enough. It did enough that it scared Steve Bannon, because he took to our social media saying if something changes, we're going to end up in jail, because they know they're wrong. And so this is why I advocated on my live today that I know this was hurtful and it was very it felt like a setback, but don't let this stop you. Don't let this discourage you. We need to keep going with our fight, with our battle, because they know we're winning, and we showed them on the 4th that this is what we're going to do.
That we can do it. Yeah. And honestly, I have to say, at least in this case, but Fetterman turned a long time ago. It wasn't just in this vote. And so he's been a disappointment. And I'm not a Democrat. I will say that, just to be clear on that.
I don't think it matters whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican. We just need people with a spine that care about people. That's going to put people over politics. And so while I'm running as a Democrat, I want to serve the people, regardless of party, Republican, Independent, Democrat, the people, because we need change, we need stability, we need accountability. And it doesn't matter what your party is, because right now we're all bleeding. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you stand in the political spectrum of things. Example, healthcare. I make decent income, but my healthcare premium is going from $300 to $1,600 a month. My next door neighbor may not be able to afford $1,600 a month health insurance premiums. So this affects everybody: the retired, the homeless, the poor, it doesn't have party on it. And to be frankly honest, there are a lot more red states using the ACA subsidies than blue. So this is clearly not about party lines. This is about people.
And poverty overall is much higher in red states.
And it's coming, and it's going to get worse. This is why I say people got to wake up and realize, guys, they're attacking our education. They're attacking our freedom of speech. Everything is under attack, and we are at war. I call it a civil war. We're not physically fighting yet, but we're at a civil war within our own country, because our president has sought out and caused so much destruction and division amongst the people. And he's turning the sick against the hungry and the rich against the poor. And nobody's realizing thanks to nobody. We're starting to see it, and people are responding, but they can't let Trump and his regime little bombs here and there derail the whole plan.
Yeah. And we can't spend our time defeating people that are mostly on the same side as us. Yeah. And that's, if people want to spend their time going after those few Democrats that flipped, I mean, that's their right to do it.
We got to keep going.
But we need to move on. We
just vote them out.
And the bottom line was, babies were not going to get food. And so something had to be done. Do I agree with it? Not necessarily. I think that it should have been a totally different approach, but I'm not in those positions of power. And I was listening to the whole section that you were doing on healthcare, and I just wanted to point out a couple of things, that there are actually nonprofit hospitals, and some are public. There aren't too many, but the ones that are public, they shouldn't be portrayed in the same light as some of these big, huge, multiple chain businesses. And within that healthcare issue, your drug manufacturing and your insurance agencies are the biggest part of the problem. So it's almost like anything that happens at hospitals would be a symptom. The problem is that you've got some pencil pusher somewhere that has decided profit over anything else. And years ago, they developed something called DRGs, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yep,
And DRGs said, oh, you've had a baby. Okay, that's 1 day. Oh, you have a broken leg. Okay, that's 2 days that we will pay for.
The
And that's
insurance
what
companies wrote
healthcare
that.
turned into.
They wrote it, baby.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So there's a lot of things related to that. And, I don't know what's going to be the fallout of this. I hope that, the Dems will push back and fight just as much for healthcare changes. We'll see.
We can't give up. We can't give up right now. I know this is a setback, but honestly, we're going to be right back in this situation in January. Because now, why we can't reverse course, because the Democrats jumped ship and they caved, we can't stop it. The government is going to open back up unless Johnson completely does an ass move, and he's not, because he came out today and said that he was going to support it and do all of these things. So it's going to reopen, but we just got screwed. But come January, we're going to be right back in shutdown, and so.
And
Yeah,
we'll
I
probably
encourage
get screwed
everyone to just look at. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the name of the game, right? The little guy always takes the beating. So I kind of try to look at the whole big picture. And although I'm not thrilled about the healthcare part, if the government opens back up, then Johnson is going to have to, swear in that representative.
Yeah.
And then they will have the votes to release these Epstein files. Do the Epstein's files have everything that we need to know in them? I'm sure not. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff
Been removed already, because you believe Trump already got to those files. And by the time they do get released, he's done the damage that he already wants to do to them. So,
But I think having more and more come out is what we need to be pushing for just as strongly as anything else, because that to me is the real undermining of the sense of morality in our country right now.
Guess what was alarming? The prince one of the princes was dethroned, more or less. And that said a lot. That said a lot.
Albert. It's Prince.
And who is he buddy with? Our president, yes. Princess Andrew, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was Princess.
Now he's regular Andrew.
Not Princess.
Now he's regular
Andrew. He's regular Andrew. And people, if they don't know that culture very much, that's a pretty big hit if you are no longer a royal.
It's a big deal. And it just tells me there's a lot more behind it. But all of these distractions and things that are happening is being done strategically. I also believe those 8 that was strategically done. It was just, to me, you went from... But anyway, it's done. We can't change it. All we can figure out is a plan forward next to fix what's next. That's about all we can do. But I can tell you, that plan that Trump said, he mentioned this morning, that he was going to give every American money directly to pay on the subsidy, that's bullshit. I call
We're
bullshit.
still waiting for our Doge checks.
He said his ideal plan for the healthcare was just to give Americans money and then we go decide. A one-time stimulus check ain't going to pay no damn health premiums. He's not going to do that. It's not going to happen. One, he don't have the power.
To laugh because I do these different meetings and podcasts and stuff like that all over the country all the time. And I sometimes get very tickled by the comments that people make. So you've got somebody that if Democrats and people like you had files on Trump, it would have been released already. Okay. Okay. So basically, you have to defend what could possibly be pedophilia in any way that you can. Why would anyone be saying, oh, he's totally innocent? Okay, let the full discovery happen, let the full investigation happen, and that will clear his name.
I agree.
And then, your boy Trump would be cleared of all of it.
But he won't do it. He campaigned that he's going to release everything. But as soon as he got in there, he had them to go and, yeah. You know what? I say this. No matter who you are, whether it was Barack Obama, President Clinton, if they had anything to do with the Epstein's files, they deserve to be persecuted like anybody else would be. Period. The
Absolutely.
end. Wrong is wrong.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think Clinton is one of the named people in the
he
mix.
came up quite a bit. And I don't have any sympathy. If he did something wrong, he should be held accountable. Release the files and let the chips fall where they may. Wrong is wrong.
But see, that's the difference in the two ways of looking at things, the two ways of looking at life. I'm with you, Kenneth. If somebody is guilty, I don't care who they are. I'm not going to defend them. Whereas people like the commenter here figures, oh, well, you're just out to get him. And they're defending something that cannot be defended. And they don't see it that way.
That's what they do. You know what? And I realize there's always going to be that element. And I don't respond anymore. I've learned how to block them now. So, and I move on.
Yeah, I just had to do that because you're not going to sit up here in my panel and disrespect my guests on my show.
I can't tell you how many times they had my live suspended or had my live blocked, and I had to go in and appeal it and fight it. All for them to come back and say, "Oh yeah, you were right, my mistake," and then they reversed it. So I've learned now when I started seeing those troll stories, I just go in and hit block, and it reduces my headache, and I don't have to deal with TikTok coming in later on. So, oh well, you didn't do this. Let me ban you for you learned.
Yeah.
So let me ask a question that was asked.
They like to
in
play
the chat.
these games.
They really do. I think they like the attention, but they're in the wrong room. So Scotty wanted to know, and I'm going to ask both of you because Liz, you might have some insight on this, being in the public sphere for as long as you have been. Scotty wants to know, where did all the money go? Where's the money? We gutted the CDC, the FDA, the FEMA, the education, NPR, the VA, and where's the money? Where did the money go?
I'm going to give two answers to that, Jess. The first answer I'm going to say is Argentina, $40 billion. My second answer to that is going to be Trump spent it. There was an interview this morning, and also in Trump's appeal to the Supreme Court last Thursday, they said the money was no longer available. It had been spent. So the money that was set aside to be used for the contingency in the petition, Mega can go research it. In the petition that was filed before the Supreme Court, Trump attorney said the funds were spent and they were no longer available and could be used for that contingency. So that was part of why they got the order. So
I think that's a little thing called misappropriation of
ding,
funds.
ding, ding, ding. There's accountability.
Pretty sure that's against the law.
And that's what that Mike Johnson came out that Thursday and said, well, the president has the authority to reappropriate funds the way he needs to. No, he does not. But until we hold him accountable, what he just spent, he did.
There's a conspiracy answer too to that.
And
the conspiracy would be when you see things like the ballroom being put up. It's not that we as U.S. citizens are paying for that ballroom. They're all a lot of private big money donors.
Oh, did you see them?
Those big money donors are winning contracts from the federal government. And so, in essence, that's where the money's going.
I made the comment today, and I said to these people today on my live, Home Depot, Lowe's, Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, all of these companies donated billions to Trump ballroom. Yep. But yet they're not investing money back into the community. So we, the people who made these companies who they are by spending our money on them, needs to boycott them, stop using them, find local companies within our communities that invest back in the communities and spend our money there. Because we can show those big corporations they can't do nothing without our money. And they can't. They will fail without our money. And yet they're catering to Trump. And people are going hungry. The kids are starving. Not one of those entities went public to say, hey, here's a donation for the community. Here's to help feed the starving kids. How about, let me give my employees a raise. Let me donate this back to the employees, because a happy employee means a more productive employee. None of those things were done by these big organizations. They gave billions to Trump for a freaking ballroom. And they're on the list. They gave him money. They're supporting him. And in turn, he's helping them with the FCC and all the other things that have recently happened. So, but we can break those billionaires like we did. Who was that? What was that? What was that
Disney.
channel just we boycotted? The TV?
Disney.
Disney. We can do the same thing to these people and show them, hey, you know what? If this is where you want to spend your money, we're going to hold our money and reinvest it locally. We got to come together in unity and show these people that it's us that runs the world, because it's the backs of the working class that supports the economy, not the wealthy.
Take the power back. That's what it's all about.
There is an organization that just started up here not too long ago called the Little Blue Cart that I would encourage everybody to go take a look at. They have businesses that are standing on the right side of history. They're not giant corporations that are donating to a ballroom. They're not people who are supporting what is happening in this fascist regime at all. They platform small businesses, local businesses, people who are, when you purchase something from them, you're paying for a little girl to have dance lessons. You know, you're supporting a little boy to go to karate classes. Like, you're supporting people who are just like you on the right side of history. So if you are looking to partake at all this holiday season, I would highly encourage you to look at the Little Blue Cart and support those businesses there, instead of going to, you know, the Bezoses and the Walmarts and the, you know, those kinds of places. So there is a mass blackout.
Jeff, is that just in Texas?
No, that's nationwide.
Is that just in Texas? Okay.
Yeah, nationwide. It's little.
We're working with a small team.
Jace, did you hear on TV, on the news last week, where Trump had a press conference and they asked him about the inflation, and he said he don't care. He don't want to hear nothing about the inflation anymore. That he didn't care about Americans complaining about it. He said it, and people were like, he didn't say that.
He's the best numbers. They're the best numbers. They're best inflation numbers. There's the lowest inflation numbers.
Like, he don't care. He didn't want to hear it again. He didn't want to hear nothing else about inflation. But this was their president. They want to sit here and defend him in the comments and say there's no proof. Lies. He said it in a press conference himself. And when it came to the ballroom and who donated the money, Trump released the list the other about a week or two ago now of all the names that were on it. And it was people that own Lowe's, Home Depot. So you know what? MAGA, go research it. You can lie all you want, but I know it's there because I've seen it and I have posted it. So go visit my page and you'll see it posted in one of my posts. Uncle Daddy.
Uncle Daddy is he's a friend of the show. There's a mass blackout. There's a mass blackout, an economic and labor blackout going on, and there's a whole bunch of groups that are working together on it between 11:25 and 12:02. So if you can avoid going to work those days, that's a great time to use your sick time. If you can avoid,
Yeah, Jess, you know I'm the executive director for the whole organization, and I can't say that on live.
I know.
You know how many employees I got?
I do. I do. But if you can avoid, shopping at your big box stores, support small businesses, support Black-owned businesses, support, your minority communities. Do what you can. If you want to join in a little bit of mutual aid shenanigans, put soup kits together. They're so cheap and easy to make, and they go such a long way for your food bank. It's such an important thing to do. Tara, you could call in sick. Use your PTO, and look, I get it. There's first responders who absolutely cannot take time off, and that's totally fine. But every time you go to work, you give 110%. And on those days, maybe you just give just enough. Go to work, still show up, answer your phone, but maybe not 110%. Maybe just a little less on those days. So
I've seen ads and stuff for that, Jess, and I don't know all of the organizations that are involved in it. If you're saying there are several, that's a good sign, right? If they're coming together to do something. I'm a little concerned because the example that we have to follow is what just happened with Disney.
Yeah.
It was a targeted one-time deal where everyone dropped their subscriptions. And that's how Disney actually saw it hit their bottom line. I'm a little reluctant to push the big blackout idea only because it's so spread out. Are they really going to feel it? I mean, I hope that it's very successful. I'm working with a group when we're trying to do an unsubscribe campaign that, would hopefully roll out nationally as well. And it's, on a certain date, everybody unsubscribe to, like, I think we have 5 or 6 different things, like the Amazon type, the
Yeah,
real
I want to
biggie.
target Amazon. They laying off 30,000, but they donated a lot of money to the ballroom too.
Yes,
And
they
Google.
did.
Yep. Hey,
Yeah.
Uncle Daddy, thanks for coming up.
Everybody has to do something.
Agreed.
Something. And, more power to everybody that's armchair warriors, because you can still do something as an armchair warrior. You can unsubscribe. You can stop buying things online, things of that nature. You don't have to be out beating the streets like some of us are at protests, but everybody has to do something. And I mean, it sounds silly, but everybody that shares your live from here today is doing something.
Yeah.
If they're sitting there and they don't feel like they can lead a movement like I have, or run for office like Kenneth is doing, they can still have impact. And everything matters. That's the whole point. Everything matters.
Yeah, we can't just go to the polls anymore and expect that completes our civic duty. We're not in those times anymore, and we've been complacent for far too long. So I would encourage everybody to get involved. This is the moment to do it. This exactly right now is the moment to do it. So whether you're sharing a live, whether you are pushing out content from your fellow content creators, whether you're going to a school board meeting, whether you're going to a city council meeting, show up. Phone bank for your favorite candidates. You don't have to be in their state or in their district to phone bank for them. And every single action counts to the big picture. So, yes, Dexter, you have to live in the United States. You're just going to have to move here. I'm so sorry to have to tell you that, but he's in Australia. So he's like such a lucky guy.
My son.
Wait.
Oh, Liz, you're breaking
Where
up.
in Australia? Oh, how's that? Any better?
Yeah.
She's asking where he is from Australia. I believe that's what she's asking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Network. I'm on 5G. What's going to be better?
I know.
Can you hear me at all?
He's in Adelaide.
Oh, God.
We hear you now.
Adelaide? Okay. Okay, good.
Uncle Daddy, thank you so much for joining the panel. Did you have a question or comment for our guests today?
Nah, I actually requested up by accident, but just I'll comment on the blackout.
Sure.
There's multiple groups that was in it. I was part of followed the People Sick Day movement, but a little pressure from everybody panicking and worrying and want to do something now. Their movement was they wasn't announcing any dates till 3 days, till a couple of days or 48 hours ahead of time, and get everybody prepared. Wasn't going to be a notice, and I believe that movement was much more organized than what we're following now. Now it's going to happen just because it's a overall group consent and everybody's worried. The biggest thing we need to worry about is November the 4th, or December the 2nd or the 4th in Tennessee. We need to be worried about it.
Afton Bain.
You have elections?
Afton yep. South Carolina. They got one mid-December. We need to get him in.
December 23rd. It's Colonel Hightower, Chuck Hightower, that's running in South Carolina. And honestly, there's a lot of concern because it doesn't sound like there's a lot. It's a very, very, very red district. Very, very red. And it doesn't seem like he has a lot of support down there. So whatever we can do for Chuck Hightower, we should be doing that. And Afton Bain in Tennessee on December 2nd as well. So yes, I'm sorry to cut you off, but keep going.
Yeah. No, that's fine. But, it goes to show what happened last week. We need to keep that momentum. We flipped and moved a lot of red. So right now, I don't see too much of anything being impossible. I think Kenneth mentioned we cannot let what happened last night distract us. That show is not over, and we got to keep it moving forward.
And we got to celebrate our wins when we get them, guys. The Supreme Court this morning declined to hear Kim Davis's bullshit case against Obergefell. So thank God for that. We're just going to take the wins where we can get them, even when they are small ones. So I can't tell you what a huge weight off of my shoulders that was this morning. I think I cried. So
Do y'all think the Supreme Court even felt that pain from last week as well? We know the president did. We know the Republicans did.
Oh, they felt it.
I think they all did. I think it was a shock across this country because the Republican side of things and those big corporations that are pushing all of this spent millions of dollars in these races. You know, the one for the Supreme Court positions in Pennsylvania, the money was just astronomical. And I think they all sat the next day and went, uh-oh, what just happened? And so I want to have more and more of those moments where we're making them say, uh-oh, what just happened?
And I want to remind people,
Four little words.
we can get rid of the Supreme Court people. We can impeach. Congress and Senate has the ability to impeach the president, his entire cabinet, Supreme Court justices. We can impeach them. We have a route to get rid of them. So, but again, Trump don't want you to know that. But if you know your Constitution, you know your civics and your free enterprise, we have a route to get rid of people on the Supreme Court, United States Supreme Court. Even though they have a for-life appointment, you can still impeach them and get them out of office through Congress and Senate.
Mm-hmm. That's why they're freaking out a little bit, because we keep inching the totals more and more in favor of being strong enough to take those actions.
Yep, it's coming.
We're going to have the votes. We definitely are.
Definitely. I appreciate you guys so much for joining us today. We're going to go ahead and close it out. But before I do, Liz, can you tell people how they can get involved in helping stop Moms for Liberty? It's so incredibly important. And, you know, how can people help?
Well, we have a website, very simple, stopmomsforliberty.com. It's just all spelled out in lowercase. And when they go to our website, they can pull up an interactive map that has all of the states where we have the local branches of the work that we're doing. And you just go through the application process. Most of these positions that we've set up are all in privacy so that it protects, you know, the folks that are doing the work. And there are various levels of things happening across the country. And look to see, you know, maybe not even just your Democratic candidates, but look to see that in your local spaces that school board seats are going to be filled with pro-public school candidates. Make that pledge to you, and then hold them accountable. If somebody takes a seat and then they're turning around and, you know, they're not doing anything to really boost the public schools, because right now the public schools really have to advertise because they are under attack on all these private, you know, promises that are being made to folks. And the whole fear element has been put in with, oh my gosh, the terrible things that are happening in schools. I mean, even the president of the United States said that they are having sex change operations at schools. I couldn't even afford pencils for my kindergarten classrooms. And I'm going to have, what, a surgical suite? I mean, it's just ludicrous stuff that has made people afraid of something that they own. They own the public school system. And invariably, I'll talk to somebody and they'll say, oh, but, you know, my school is fine. My kid's teacher is just great. I said, understand they're all under attack. And if you're involved in Moms for Liberty, that's what you're involved in. So I'm talking again, but so the website, and then they can go to the interactive map. We have a big presence on Facebook. We have an Instagram. And, you know, we have we haven't done much live on TikTok, but we have a TikTok presence as well, where I've put up multiple videos on different topics. Once you join our national group, which is what I pretty much run, and then I have state leaders that do all the other groups. And in the national group, we have something called guides as one of the tabs on Facebook. And in those guides, we have provided multiple resources for people for whatever issue they may have that's happening in their community. There's a tab for book banning. There's a tab for LGBTQ plus rights. There's a tab for erasing Black history and how to fight that. So, there's a lot of things that we can do, and don't ever think that your voice doesn't count, because every voice does. And if you are afraid to speak out publicly, then write something and have somebody else speak it out for you. There's lots of ways to go about advocacy, and the point is just to do something. Stay informed, be the listeners and watchers of your podcast, Jess, that really dig into what's actually happening, and that's what it's going to take, is that we become better informed and we stand up for things that are the good things of America. And one of those is our public school system. I am the first to say, do we need improvement? Absolutely. There's lots of things that we need to improve, but you don't throw away a public system, because what you're having is a twofold society. Even if we keep our public schools, then who's going to go to the public schools? The families that can't afford to drive their kids to schools of choice or to charter schools. The families who can't afford to get uniforms to go to those schools. It's a very discriminatory process that is underway, and we're not going to keep quiet while that's happening, because every child deserves an education in this country. And it benefits all of us when they are better educated, not less educated.
So there's a company that we work closely with. We've done a collaboration with them where they actually made our merch, and we have shirts that we're and stickers and sweatshirts and stuff that we're selling to raise money for grassroots efforts. They have this shirt and that I want them to make in kids size, that has like Medusa head, and it says I was not born to stay quiet, or something along those lines. And I really just want to, because they're putting the 10 Commandments in my child's school, in my daughter's school. And I am not somebody who is a religious person, but I understand that I live in very rural Texas, and there's a church on every corner. Multiple churches on every corner. It's actually kind of ridiculous how many churches there are out here. But aside from that, I've decided, and she's fully in support, that she's going to be a problem for them. And she's going to wear stuff. If they're going to put the 10 Commandments on the walls of her public school classroom, then she's going to wear shirts that have, like, in a world full of Eves, be a Lilith kind of a thing on a regular basis. You can check out Not Your Merch right here on TikTok, and they're amazing. They are...
Well, and on that particular issue with putting up the 10 Commandments, they need to be told clearly, and it's tough because you do have a governor that's pushing for it, but they need to be told clearly on the district level that then opens them up to lawsuit and to challenge if they don't also put up other documents of importance. If they put up, Islamic codes, or however they call them. I'm not really sure what, the terminology is.
The tenets of other religions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a big pushback. And, there's a, satanic temple or something it's called.
Yeah.
Do they realize that when they go in one direction, even if they think it's the majority direction, it opens the door for everything religious-based.
Yep.
And there's a reason why our founders went with separation of church and state. They don't like to, acknowledge that, but they absolutely did a separation. And it's important that we keep that.
Definitely. I think it's so incredibly important. There's a lot of kids that are Hindu and Muslim,
Right.
and they're going to they're going to my daughter's school, and I'm sure that they don't feel like they're welcome there because of this.
Exactly.
And that's a
Exactly.
huge problem for me.
Yep.
As a mom, it breaks my heart. So, get involved in your local school board, guys. This is so very important, and it seems like it's something that is not important enough, right? Like, it's just school board meeting. Who wants to do that? Go anyway. Okay? Make it a problem.
Yep.
Make it a problem for them. So thank you so much, Liz. I'm so grateful for you. I am so excited that you joined us today, and I cannot wait to have you on the show again. I would love to pick your brain about some more of, deep dive issues, and I definitely think that we could dedicate an entire episode to just talking to you about education and how important it is that we focus on what we can do to make sure that our public school systems are equipped to raise the next generation for success instead of being brainwashed by fascist
My ultimate hope,
fundamentalism.
Jess, is that when all of this is said and done, that public schools will be stronger and that teachers will be more respected than they've ever been before. I'm holding out hope, Chris, crossing every finger, crossing every toe, because it's never been this bad. So I think we have to just keep pushing.
And grats, Nikki, in the chat. W's for Nikki in the chat. Yeah, they got they won their school board election. I'm assuming that's what this means. And they were able to kick somebody out who should have never been there in the first place. So, W's in the chat, Nikki. That's amazing. Swept. Love it. See, we gotta celebrate our wins, guys. We've got to celebrate our wins. That is amazing news. Great job. So thank you so much, Liz. I will be in touch again very soon because I would love to talk to you some more. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Of course. Thank you.
Good night, Kenneth, too.
Good night. Thank you.
Kenneth, I want to talk to you next and talk to you about how we can get involved in your campaign because we're getting close to time. So before we go, I would love it if you could tell the good folks here how to get involved in your campaign and how to help you turn this super sad, depressing District 12 into a revitalized District of Hope going forward.
Aww. Well, guys, I would say one of the biggest things I would say is your support. And I know if you guys are not able to monetarily donate to my grassroots campaign, one of the biggest things you can do is either volunteer your time to phone bank or do other things on the campaign. And if you want to know how to reach me, there's the link there in my account and that on my KennethForCongress2026.com. There's a link that allows you to send me an email where you can volunteer to phone bank, knock on doors if you're not able to donate to my grassroots campaign. But if you are able to donate, I would strongly encourage you guys to please donate. Every dollar matters because my campaign is 100% grassroots and I do not accept funds from special lobbying groups, PACs, or any of those other deals. It is strictly from everyday working people just like yourself and myself. Secondly, I would say, guys, please like, share, follow my page. If you have not already seen it, please visit my TikTok page. Follow me, subscribe, share my posts, and help get the word out. And so the biggest thing we could do, if you can't do anything else, please follow me, like, and share. It helps get my name out and lets people know who I am and let them know that there's somebody that actually cares about them and their concerns. And word of mouth is one of the biggest things you guys can do.
Damn right. And it's just a reminder, folks, you've heard me say it once, you've heard me say it 1,000 times. You know, we all know how we feel about big money in politics. It is absolutely crushing the way our government works for us, right? Like, we want candidates who are going to serve the people and not special interests, but that money has to come from somewhere. So whether it's your wallet or your time, even just a follower share gets more eyes on them and pushes their message out to the interwebs, and you can do that for free, folks. So let's buy Kenneth a cup of coffee or a yard sign and push him over the finish line, guys, okay?
And just, I still got the car sign for you. I'm still holding it, that magnet. Yeah, I'm going, yeah, I ain't forgot. It's in my truck.
Okay, that's great. Okay. Do you have on your website, do you have a calendar of events that are coming up or where you're going to be?
Yeah, I'm doing a food drive this weekend, a food drive. I have to look and see where it is and tell you. But I don't know if I have all that on my website. I got a lot on my website, but most of it's on my Facebook page. But I'll share
the Book of Faces. The Book of Faces is a dangerous place for people like me. I have purple hair and a septum piercing. I don't go on the Book of Faces, okay? And it's not a safe place for me. Uncle Daddy says we need aggressive progressives, and I completely concur with that. We need to put that on a shirt, Uncle Daddy, because that's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's
We need
brilliant.
change. We
Yes.
need change. We need massive change, And this time for being all politically correct and proper and sweet, it's time out for that crap. We
The
need
high
people
road.
who are going to be honest with us, keep it real, and be blunt. Call a spade a spade. But this stroking egos and playing this timid game, the time has come and gone. And I'd much rather someone who can be straight up with me and call a spade and say, hey, this ain't working. This is what we need. And clearly, going to a gunfight with a knife is not working. We need to do something different. We need to be bold. We need to get the attention, let them know that we're not playing anymore. And so I bring a special, unique niche to the table. And so while people want to say different things, they can talk the trash. But I'm a candidate that walks the walk. As a grassroots candidate, as a person that is a everyday working American who grew up poor, who knows what the struggle is like, who raised kids, who's dealt with the mental health issues, who's worked healthcare, they can't just throw crap at me. I'm a candidate that brings a very precise set of experience and skills to the table. And I intend to use that to make District 12 better, but not just District 12. The changes we make here will affect the world.
Have you ever watched the movie Taken? Okay, you need to make
Yes.
a political commercial. You need to make a political commercial right now. I have a special set of skills. You have to do it. You have to do. Can you get one on the phone? We need to talk to
Yeah,
this. I need to talk
he's
to
still
this
at
man.
work. He's still at
Man,
work. You got his number. Call him.
we need to make this happen. The wheels of creative
Call him.
shenanigans, all of the chaos are firing in my head like a million pistons at once. Um, yes, we need to
We
make
need
that magic
video
happen.
ideas. I reached out to Isaiah. I know Isaiah didn't win his thing in Houston, but I'm trying to capture every demographic. I know I got a lot of Latino experience community. I know I got a lot of my African American, but I don't want to take anybody for granted.
Yeah,
And I need to catch all demographics. So coming up out of the box with unique ideas on the different videos, because whereas I want to zoom in on tabletop issues, say, hey, this is the issue, this is what we're doing, this is what we need to do. I fight with my marketing person because where my ideas is one way, his is another way. And I have to say, this is my campaign. I want people to know me from me. I don't want to be fake. And if I feel like last night I posted a video about the 8 people and we thought about it, I'm like, look, this is not a debate. The candidates, the constituents need to know me. They need to know how I feel about it. So if I'm showing emotions, I want them to see that because I want them to know that I am real. I don't want to get in front of them and be a polished person that's giving them proper. I want them to
lip
see
service.
raw, live, and me because we can see fake a mile away. And so when I give my videos, I'm usually real and I'm straightforward with them. I don't sugarcoat and I don't spade. I was pissed. Last night was a slap in the fucking face.
It was.
You know?
It really
But
was.
anyway, Hovland, he needs help in doing that. And you got a special niche and he does. And I think the two of you guys together can help me do a lot with the videos because my brain doesn't work on that level. I'm from that 50-ish age range. And when I'm talking to people, I'm thinking table talk. Let's talk about how to fix the bills, the insurance, the healthcare. Well, one doesn't think that way. And you think on a whole different spectrum. So if I can kind of get y'all together to work on some things,
Yeah,
it would work for
definitely.
me.
I think
Because, yeah.
I think that there's policy, right? And policy is so very important, especially right now. We're fighting fascism right now. Okay, let's be honest. We have to be real with the verbiage that we're using. We are fighting fascism right
Yeah.
now, and that camel fucking hurts, man. We are being
Yeah.
bludgeoned with a camel every single day, and I think that policy is great. Policy is fantastic, but you have to give people a reason to hope and a reason to smile and a reason to laugh again. Because if we get bogged down by all of the bullshit that is hitting us at a million miles an hour
Lose
on a
hope.
constant basis, it is going to burn us to a crisp. We are not going to have the energy or the inspiration or the gusto to get out of bed every morning. We have to have a reason to laugh. So if you make fun of yourself, take the opportunity to give people a reason to laugh and give people a reason to hope. It is so very important right now. Policy is
Yeah.
amazing. Policy is wonderful.
I
But you
posted
gotta
one
give
just
people
with me pole dancing, and he got
yes.
mad. He got mad. He said, "Daddy, he's not professional. You don't." I said, "They need to realize I am a human. They need to laugh. They need to see there's another side of me. There's a comedian side of me that they don't see." And my employees see it at work, but people online don't see that. He's like, "But this is your political page. You can't." I say, "Bullshit." And I put that
Hey,
post and some things up there, and they liked it. They
I
liked it.
did.
It got like 15 to 20,000 views.
Yeah,
But
I really liked the karaoke. The karaoke.
he got video of me singing. I
I
sent those to
did.
you. He didn't get those. Those never got posted. Those never were posted. They never
Post
got posted.
those. Lord help us. Yeah. Rodney. Rodney's got the voice of an angel. Rodney Lee for JOP. The man can
Yeah,
sing.
he
The
does.
man can
He
sing.
called me a minute
I
ago.
I appreciate the willingness to put yourself on a stage there. I would not say the same about your vocal talents, my friend.
I don't have those, baby. I don't have those. I can't even lip sync. I just screw it all up. And
Hey,
I told Rodney, I can't do it. I need a few more drinks. Give me a few more drinks and you get me to relax. But I'm so used to being husband, father, and
yeah,
boss that I have to sometimes
candidate.
remember. Yeah, I got to remember it's okay to just let it out sometimes and just act silly because there's a silly side of me, but not everybody gets to see that side.
We should all see that side. I think that would be so fantastic.
Ooh,
And I know, dangerous, right? But yes, let me know where you're going to be next. I would love to
I
come and
will.
see you. We could make, we could get together and put some soup kits together.
Okay,
That would be something
we
we
need
could
to meet
do.
up soon. We need to
Yeah,
meet up soon, Jess.
definitely.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll set it up soon.
Definitely. And yes, Kayla, sorry she has to lock me out of her office from time to time because I do have no boundaries, apparently. No boundaries at all. I would be absolutely remiss if I didn't send a special thank you to the incredible content creators that were out here today supporting us, as well as our incredible design genie producer and just amazing human, the Kayla. Please follow these people. They're incredible. The show isn't about me or Kayla. The show is about all of us coming together to make positive change. So all those things I mentioned above for Kenneth about following and liking and sharing, all that stuff goes for us too. We are still a baby endeavor. And we're doing everything we can to grow our presence so we can help as many grassroots candidates as possible. And that also includes merch, because I got merch. We got merch now. We got these shirts. They're really cool. They have, one of them has like this little grassroots army thing on the back of it. And the boot is so cool. It's amazing. We also have
Have
Rare
you
Honey
reached out to
stickers.
Gina yet? Gina Hinasoa? She's running for a governor.
Yes, Gina Hinojosa.
Yeah.
Yes, I have reached out to her. She's not returned. She's not reached back. She's
Really?
probably really, really busy. I completely understand. But yes, I'm patiently waiting. Gina,
She was
tell
with
me.
Taylor recently in over here in Fort Worth. She was here with Taylor. Taylor Remedy is running for state
Yes,
senate. She was here recently. They made a
yes.
video together.
I love Taylor. He's not, because I'm in a different
That's-
county by like I could throw a rock and hit Tarrant County. So I can't vote for Taylor, but I will tell everybody who's here to vote
But
for
you're my
him.
district though. You're in my district. You're in. Yeah, even with the change, you're still in my district.
Yep. Yeah. I think the lines just barely miss because he wasn't on my ballot. So he's very sad. I'll tell you where I am later. I don't want to dox myself. So, ladies and gentlemen, check out my showcase. There's really amazing stickers in there, and you can just leave those all over your town like glitter and let people know they're not alone. It's very important for people to know that they're not alone right now. Make sure that you are still registered to vote, people, and keep an eye on the election schedules in your area. You can check out your registration by going to vote.gov. And I never, ever, ever thought in a million years I would have to say this, but for the love of Pete, would you please check your vote, check your choice after you've made it, follow it, make sure that it is exactly how you intended it to be. Okay? Very important. Next week is going to be what is today? Is today Monday?
Monday.
Today's Monday.
Too young for me. Yes.
I know. I'm
Tomorrow is
telling you.
Veterans Day. And for all my veterans that are on here, Hawaiian's Brothers. It's a nice little restaurant. Google them. They're feeding all veterans for free. Show up with your retired ID or your veteran ID or active ID, and you get a regular Hawaiian meal free, the full classic, which is the big plate tomorrow.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. That's so great. This was so incredibly inspiring. Kenneth, thank you so much for coming on to our show. You're the first person to come on twice. So, I mean, let's make this a regular thing. Yeah, I love it. This was incredibly inspiring. I know a lot of people are really, really scared right now, but you guys need to understand that the fear is the point. The fear is the point, you guys. They're trying to panic. If you are scared, it leads to panic, and panic leads to inaction, and that stops all of this shit. So the best way to get around this is to get out of your silo and start building community, because hope and community are the antidote for all of this. So I talk about silos all the time. Get out of your silo, okay? On Friday, we are going to be joined by two amazing groups of people, a group of amazing people. Let's just say it that way. Robert Hunter is running for Alabama in State House, District 28. He is an incredible young candidate who's moving to shake and inspire folks all over the place. He's so great, and I cannot wait to talk to him about what's going on in Alabama. Also, have you guys ever heard of the Can't Win Victory Fund? You should definitely check them out. Kenneth, I thought this was so brilliant. They run candidates in their state that are not going to win. But the whole purpose that they run these candidates is because they're in deep red areas, and they, want to piss people off by running, which I fully support all the way. But they also say what needs to be said and move the needle more to where it's supposed to be. So it's called the Can't Win Victory Fund. We're going to be talking to Kate. She's amazing, and I definitely suggest that you guys all check them out and take a look at them.
I have to do that.
Yeah, she's in there. It's so great. Like, I saw their video and I was like, this is so genius. This is so genius. It's stupid how genius this is. So be sure, everybody, to follow us on our Substack, Spotify. Not Spotify. We canceled our Spotify. Don't follow us on Spotify. We are not there. Apple Podcasts, the tube of you. And if I could make a really quick plea, we would absolutely love it if you just pop right on over there and leave us a review. It would really help us get more eyes on our content. We already talked about the national blackout. The People's Sick Day is amazing. Please follow Not Your Merch. They are incredible. Make sure you're following us, liking us, all the things. And thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Kenneth, thank you so much. Uncle Daddy, thank you so much for staying up on the panel. I know I didn't have much else to. Did you want to add anything else before we close out tonight, my friend?
No, ma'am. I'm good.
All right. I appreciate you. Thank you, guys. I hope you guys take care of each other. It is so very important right now. Okay? And we'll see you guys on Friday. Thank you, Kenneth.
Right, talk to you
Have
later.
a great night. Bye, everybody.
You too.
Bye.
It takes a village, because for all means for all. Together we'll break down any wall. Linked in love, we won't disarm. We're uniting the grassroots army strong. So press play, feel the spark. This is where the movement starts. It takes a village, and we're the proof. Truth in action, raising the roof. It takes a village. It takes a village. We rise together, louder than fear. One voice from fire, crystal clear. From every banner, every street, unity moves on dancing feet. We rise together, we're strong.